Believing is the initial step chosen to affirm something that has not been experienced. If it has been experienced, there is no need for belief or affirmation anymore. Greetings from Rahayu. Next, I will briefly discuss the theme of belief still surrounding LOA. However, this time it may be a bit complicated because we will delve deeper into LOA. Therefore, before watching this series, it is recommended to try the previous series, especially the first and second series, so that you don't get too emotional or that makes you dizzy. Okay, as we know, the principle of LOA is more towards faith, affirmation, assumption, or belief. Belief has not happened, but is considered or believed to have happened. Not having witnessed it yourself, but is considered or acknowledged having witnessed it. This assumption will work when logic is placed only as a support to understand the guidelines or approach, not to understand what is meant, while what is meant will be experienced if logic stops, or at least only functions to support faith. For a believer, he believes even though he has not experienced it. Unbelievers themselves are different. They need proof at the beginning. They will only believe after they have experienced it themselves. If they have not experienced it, they will not believe it. What about you? Believe first or proof first? In fact, in the field, most people will only believe after they have experienced it themselves. If they have not experienced it, they will not believe it. This means that logic majors are more popular than faith majors. This is the root of the sluggishness of the practice of building a foundation of assumptions or faith. The strong are busy looking for evidence, analyzing possibilities with the limitations of the formulas in their minds, which ultimately strengthens doubts and zong, not empowering them. Even though it is only just to increase insight, and again, of the many LOA practitioners, only a few have truly succeeded completely. Completely here in the sense that there is an increase in spiritual awareness of life, not just physical, but comprehensive. What is meant is that we need to understand that we stop by for a while on this earth in human form with all its completeness. This is only a small phase of life. It is no coincidence that we are currently in the process of seeking treatment, seeking healing, so that we are worthy of continuing the long journey, which does not know where it ends. The further we go, the more I myself feel like I don't know. Whatever. We'll discuss this in depth in another space, because it can be long and complicated, as Javanese people say, but I'll just share a little bit of the seed as material, reflection that we never know when we start to realize life and when it ends. From the simplest things, when was the smallest moment and what you can remember? For example, when you were 3 years old. Well, before 3 years old, where were you in? Just like when you dream or daydream, you never know when you start daydreaming, and when you realize it, the daydream stops, right? Well, when you daydream, you never know when you start to sleep dreaming and when you wake up from sleep dreaming. Suddenly you're in a dream world, and when you wake up, the dream stops and you wake up. Yeah, When you dream, where do you want to go deeper? Sorry, you never know when you start to die and when you wake up from death. Suddenly, you're already in a state of death, and when you realize it, death is also free from whether you occupy a physical container or not. This is just food for thought. Is it starting to get dizzy or bopper, or assumptions that have been
Sitting comfortably in your subconscious mind, you start turning on the stove. Okay, back top. The fact is that most people believe that they have proven it themselves. If they haven't proven it, they don't believe it. There's no proof. Yes, it's considered a LOA. Maybe you often see or find questions like, who has proven LOA? Is there anyone here who has succeeded by applying LOA? Where is the proof? This is the same as questions like this. Who has proven the miracle of gratitude? Is there anyone here who has received the blessings of life with being grateful? Sitting comfortably in your subconscious mind, you start turning on the stove. Okay, back top. The fact is that most people believe that they have proven it themselves. If they haven't proven it, they don't believe it. There's no proof. Yes, it's considered a LOA. Maybe you often see or find questions like, who has proven LOA? Is there anyone here who has succeeded by applying LOA? Where is the proof? This is the same as questions like this. Who has proven the miracle of gratitude? Is there anyone here who has received the blessings of life with being grateful? Where is the proof? It seems similar, right? Well, this contradiction of assumptions in one space creates an internal conflict that hinders the performance of LOA itself. So, it's important to know that belief is a choice. Belief is in the mental realm. Belief is the initial step chosen to confirm something that has not been experienced. If you have experienced it, there is no need for belief or reinforcement anymore. Why? Because it has become a real experience. Just like, for example, you want something, for example, to have a house. Just this desire of yours at least shows that you don't have a house to make that desire come true. Then you start practicing the science of reasoning by assuming or saying yes, as if you already have a house. And thankfully, a feeling or action, well, your assumption, attracts a house to manifest in your life. After you really have a house, you don't need to assume anymore that you already have a house, right? You don't need to say yes anymore that you already have a house, yes, not to be said, even though the fact is you already have a house. Okay, let me give another deeper example. Until now, you may believe in the existence of heaven and hell. Not because you have seen or even plunged into heaven and hell, but because you decided or chose to believe. Yes, if you have witnessed it or experienced it yourself, you don't need to believe anymore. Belief that belief will go away by itself. Why? Because you have witnessed the reality directly. You don't need to say yes again. Yes, unique. Up to that point, you will not be able to explain the reality to others, let alone describe it. Except with just an approach, not the intended analogy. Such as, how do you explain the sweetness of watermelon to someone who has never tasted the sweetness of watermelon? Of course, you will use approaches such as the sweetness of sugar or a poon, which are close to what can be understood.
So it is wise if people can feel the sweetness of the fruit themselves. Moreover, because in many cases, people actually consider sugar as the truth, even though sugar is only an approximation. What needs to be watched out for is the high risk of debates about the truth of imported sugar versus the truth of local sugar. Not to mention those who insist on the truth of sweets and candies. So to shorten it, belief is needed as a statement of attitude to realize something that the mind is unable to reach, understand, or confirm. Then belief is the cause, not the effect. The principle is the same as
being grateful. Being grateful is the cause, not the effect. By being grateful, your blessings will be added. Yes, by believing, your hopes will be realized. If belief is placed on the effect, it is natural that questions arise. Where is the proof? Has anyone succeeded in using LOA? Who has proven LOA? From here, it is clear what is the content of the assumption that hangs around in the subconscious. If there is no blessing, then there is no gratitude. There is no evidence, then there is no belief. In general, yes, but this is not a wrong thing. This is not the fault of each person. The freedom to choose this attitude is outlined in his life according to his opinion. Well, for those who want to seriously manage it, don't turn it around anymore. So if life is less enjoyable, oh, that's a sign of a lack of gratitude. So be grateful for the pleasures first. Then if hopes haven't come true, oh, that's a sign of a lack of faith. Just believe first. Be amazed. Then this is also an assumption that you want to use. Please throw it away. Please. Many subscribers have recently given me their testimonies after understanding. They try to outwit their fate with principles, and to the point that they are surprised at the miracles they ordered themselves. But I think there are quite a few people who have been implementing it for years, but not a single wish has come true, aka Zong, because Zhang Zong continues to be annoyed. Finally, assuming that I am not Ulan and becoming the final assumption that the concept of LOA is just nonsense. Well, in this condition, if he still insists on applying the principles of LOA in his life, it will still be the same. Why would we shake his hand? More in the next series. Hopefully it will be useful. See you in the next video. Warm greetings and always success. Greetings. True that.